It is a time of year of where the big movies are coming out. And
Yeah.
Greg is excited about one, Mission
Dun,
Impossible.
dun, 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 dun,
He was
dun,
so
dun,
excited for that one.
dun.
He's like, when the promo started for it, he's like, do you think we could go to the midnight showing to the opening? And I'm like, no, we have Christian's graduation.
We cannot.
I am busy that week.
Oh,
So
that is for sure. But The Final Reckoning
we'll get to it eventually.
is the title of this one.
Yes.
I'm not sure, that Tom Cruise is going to make it his final.
Oh, I have news on that, actually.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a 30-year franchise, Mission Impossible. Number one, I think I might have seen one movie that probably disappoints you, Greg. Number two, Tom Cruise says that he is looking to continue the franchise further than this. He's looking to continue things like Top Gun as well.
Wow.
And he said at the premiere of the new Mission Impossible that, quote, I'm going to make movies into my hundreds. I'll never stop doing action, drama, or comedy. I'm excited.
Well, I'll tell you, the Top Gun Maverick was an amazing movie. The last Mission Impossible movie was not as good as some of the others, but I'm excited to see how this Final Reckoning plays out. Maybe the one after that would be the final reckoning. I don't know.
Right, that's what I'm saying. It's going to be like Rocky. And just Rocky.
Yeah.
Just kidding. Just one more. And there's more.
Who knows? Maybe Clubber Lang will be in the middle of one of those.
But, Tom Cruise has got more money than anybody needs, and that's fine. I'm not mad at him for it, but he doesn't really have to worry about the retirement decisions we do, but his physical situation with as many stunts as he does. How much longer can he keep this Mission Impossible jumping and leaping up? You know what I mean?
Because he does his own stunts.
Yeah, he does.
I mean, Greg, where are you slacking there? I mean, shouldn't you
That
be
too
able
well.
To be a stunt guy.
Well,
He does his own stunts. Oh, goodness. Well,
the toys in the middle of the living room?
that's it.
Yeah.
it is a stunt.
I'm able to leap small Yorkies with a single bound.
Yeah. I was
There
gonna
you
say,
go.
there's not many toys left out, but laundry piles,
Yes.
what else? Legos do get left out.
They do.
Yeah.
Yes, Legos cause many a day that you have to, kind of
Those little
silence a
things
curse word.
Yeah. They inflict major pain.
Oh, they do. They're brutal. You get up in the middle of the night, and it's not good.
Well, another household name making news, Warren Buffett, investing legend, as we all know. He says that at the end of the year, he's stepping down as CEO of Berkshire Hathaway. But a Motley Fool article grabbed my attention the other day. Now, Warren Buffett, he's into his 90s. I don't know exactly how old he is, but the title was, but he's a smart guy. That's why when I saw this title, I was like, smart guy. Do I pay attention? Yes. Warren Buffett says to buy this Vanguard ETF, it could turn $1,000 a month into $228,000 in 10 years. That was just the title. And I was like, okay, I'm in. Click on it. Turns out he's suggesting to buy a low-cost S&P 500 index fund, such as the Vanguard S&P 500 ETF. I guess my question is, it got me to click because Warren Buffett's saying it's a good idea. Is it a good idea we should take action on?
Well, to some degree, I think it's good advice and bad advice. And the fact he said it could turn $1,000 a month over a 10-year period, so that'd be $120,000 invested into roughly $228,000. Was that what it was?
Mm-hmm.
228. Okay.
Yeah.
So if you're putting in $1,000 per month, you're doing a really good thing called dollar cost averaging.
Mm-hmm.
So you get to average out your cost. And even though the S&P 500 goes up and down like a roller coaster ride, it does average out your spend when you do it that way. And certainly for those who are investing young, in their 20s, in their 30s, in their 40s, they are investing, they're putting money in every paycheck, doing all those things. Certainly the S&P 500 could be something that you might want to take a look at because it's very low cost. That's one thing that's there. And in fact, young people at church come up to us, they ask about what to do, and I give very similar advice to those folks. But I would say once you've accumulated some wealth, maybe you've accumulated $500,000 or $800,000 or $1 million or more, is it wise to only invest in something like a 500 index fund, S&P 500 index fund?
Mm-hmm.
Because to me, at this point in your life, if you're 55, 60 or older, this is where you need to be more consistent. And, investments can follow a delta, and with the S&P 500, it's a pretty wide delta. It's a pretty steep delta, meaning from its highs to its lows, how much it can fluctuate.
Sounds like the airline itself. Sometimes I'm really pleased, sometimes I'm not. Anyway, continue.
Yeah, because, for the past 25 years, the S&P 500, for instance, would have averaged over 13% per year, which is great. I mean, what's to not like about that, right? It sounds like, well, goodness, Greg, why would you ever be against earning over 13% per year? Because when you're 60 and older and now you're staring retirement right in the face, a major downturn like 2008 or the financial crisis could put you at a spot where you were no longer comfortable with retiring. And consequently, if you were investing in the S&P 500 for the last 25 years, earning that over 13% per year average, if you were withdrawing just 4%, you would be down by 35%. And that is something called sequence of return risk. And the S&P 500 or the Dow or the NASDAQ, all of those index funds, the Russell 2000, you can include all of them are just broad pictures of the market. And when the market's going gangbusters, we get the benefit. When the market's going down like a rock, we get the results that are negative.
Right.
And that's not a comfortable ride for a retiree. I mean, I think recently on the show, we talked about the Uber driver from Hades.
Oh my gosh. Flashbacks.
We're taking speed bumps at 50 miles an hour, and our teeth are rattling, and that. I mean, this
sounds very dramatic. Trust me, it was.
It was
right. I'm saying we've talked about it a lot because it was that bad.
It was bad. Well, that's kind of what it feels like to try to retire going that up and down bumpy road. It's not comfortable.
Here's the other thing, Greg. I think it's important to recognize, even when people like Warren Buffett get online and say something or post something, or there's an ad or anything that you see in the media, there's usually a disclaimer.
Oh, yeah.
And typically it says it's not for everyone. You need to consult someone about it, right? So you need to remember that you can't, we've talked about AI and we've talked about, robo investing and things like that over the years. You can't take the human element out because there's so much that goes into the conversation when we're trying to figure out what fits, what your goals are and what you're trying to accomplish.
For sure. And, besides that, the fact that, it's sequence of return risk when you're taking money out. I did some checking on the Vanguard S&P 500 index fund. And remember me talking about alpha? We talked about it last week on the show. And alpha,
beta.
Yeah, alpha, especially though, is our risk-adjusted return. So we're hoping for a positive alpha, because a positive alpha means that our performance is outshining our risk. Well, what's really interesting to me, the 3-year, the 5-year, and the 10-year alpha on that Vanguard S&P 500 index fund, that ETF, is negative. It's negative for 3 years, it's negative for 5 years, it's negative for 10 years, meaning that it's not very efficient. So although you don't feel it, this is especially true with 401ks and things like this. You don't feel it when you're using an index fund to put money in every paycheck. Plus, you're getting free money from your company. They're paying money in there too. And so we don't feel the effect of that downturn like we do when we're retired and we start taking money out. It's such a huge difference. And I don't hear enough people talking about this. I really don't. But I think the average investor, the one that sacrifices every paycheck to put money in that 401k, that 403b, that deferred comp plan, that's a sacrifice for people. That's money they could be using for other things, but they're putting it aside for their future, and that's great. But somebody needs to be kind of shining that beacon of light saying, hey, all those things that work great when you were accumulating, they don't work necessarily as well. I mean, they could work well if the market didn't go down.
Yeah.
I mean,
True.
we only had up markets There would be no need for any advisors. We could just go out and start buying stuff and it'd be great. And no one would have to worry and no one would, ever panic during downturns or any of those things. But because those things do happen, we need to be a little more watchful. What's interesting, in 2013, the S&P, this index fund, the Vanguard S&P ETF, would have gone up 31.3%. But in 2008, it would have gone down 37.8%. So my thinking is, okay, if you were retired and your $1 million went down by $378,000, how would that make you feel? Or 2020, the pandemic. If you had $1 million saved, but it went down 34.4%, that's $344,000. How would that make you feel? Oh, you said, but it bounced back up later in the year. But did you know it was going to do that?
Nope.
What about 2022? 19.2% drop. Or the financial crisis of the early 2000s. You remember the dot-com bubble? 54.1% drop. That's a huge, huge swing. So I believe what retirees or those getting ready to retire should be doing is looking for something more efficient, something that can provide, because we need our money to do three major things. We need money to be available for liquidity. We need money for income to maintain our lifestyle, and we need money for growth for the long term. If we have a plan that accounts for all three of those, then we can breathe a little easier in retirement.